8 actions a narcissistic person will avoid at all costs, and this is usually down to their personality traits, the criteria of narcissistic people, such as that sense of grandiosity, the arrogance that they're always right, the preoccupation with themselves. They're very self-centered people, believing they're special, so they always have to believe that they are superior to other people, usually by bringing other people down, making other people feel insignificant to stroke their ego and hide their insecurities. They're very entitled, they're very envious, they're very exploitative, and they lack the empathy to care for how their behaviour affects those around them. They have enough empathy to care about themselves and how other people's perceptions of their behaviour might look poorly on them. Therefore, there's 8 things a narcissist will go all out to avoid at all costs to those around them. And one of the first of these is acknowledging other people's achievements, other people's success, other people's happiness. Narcissistic people are some of the most envious people you could ever meet. Now, if you've got that sort of covert narcissist that can't fully get away with being who they are no matter who they are around, then if there's an audience, they'll say, oh yes, very nice, and they'll do it in front of the audience. But then once the audience has gone and there's just you, they're like, oh, they'll never make it. I don't know why they're getting married. Enter a competition. Well, I didn't want to win that anyway. Who'd want that tatty thing? Who'd want to drive one of those when the neighbour gets a new car? They're always looking to pull everyone else down. Why would you get a degree in that? Of all the universities to go to, couldn't have picked a worse one, could they? They're looking to pull everybody else down, to feed their ego, to hide their insecurities so that they can feel better about themselves. Accept other people's boundaries. Narcissistic people feel entitled to do as they please, therefore they don't care. They lack the empathy to care for other people's boundaries. Their entitlement and their lack of empathy means they have no regard for other people's boundaries. Instead, what they will do is find a way to attack the other person's boundary, make out that the other person's boundary is the wrong, that the other person is too sensitive or can't take a joke. They look to get other people to believe them as well, so that people break down their boundaries to serve the narcissist, because the narcissist has created the self-doubt that there's something wrong within that person's boundary. They'll use triangulation for this and say, oh, so-and-so would. Well, so-and-so's allowed different boundaries. We're individuals. It's about having the ability to respect another person's, even if it's not the same as your own. Accept any form of constructive criticism, constructive feedback. We all know, especially when around a narcissist who will criticise you and mock you, that criticism isn't pleasant. We all know that even unsolicited advice, even though it's well-meaning, isn't pleasant. However, most people go and sort of overanalyze it, overthink it, question it, and then go back and say, hey, what did you mean by that? Yeah, perhaps you're right, or maybe you're wrong. Depends on the situation. With a narcissistic person, they perceive themselves to be perfect and you're the one with the problem. They are very insecure people. So they need people to give them the attention and validation to feed their ego. So any form of criticism causes that narcissistic injury, and they attack back in some way. They might just force silence, they might accuse you of not caring, they go all out to regain control over the situation, usually at the cost to you. Admit fault. Narcissistic people are never going to admit fault. Now, it's not always pleasant admitting fault. It's not a nice thing when you get something wrong. However, with a narcissist, they're arrogant enough to believe that they are always right. And if they are wrong, they will rewrite it how they were right. Rule 1, a narcissist is never wrong. And rule 2, if they are, rule 1 applies. So they don't believe themselves to be in the wrong. So they're not going to admit fault. Instead, they're going to shift the blame onto somebody else so that they can get away with their behaviour. Admit a mistake. We all make a mistake, and in many parts of the world we have sort of created a society where people fear making a mistake, and people point out other people's mistakes and laugh at them rather than encourage them. Yeah, you made a mistake. What can we learn from this? What can we do now from this? How do we change? How do we grow? So we can all fear making mistakes. A narcissist will not admit to making a mistake. They'd rather die than admit to making a mistake, and they certainly don't want to die. They fear growing old, the majority of them. Again, a fear that many people can have. So a narcissistic person will not admit to making a mistake. Somebody else made them do it. It's never their fault. Forgive those who call them out. When it comes to those dealing with narcissistic people, those dealing with addicts, you often find those dealing with them who care about them will give them chance after chance after chance after chance until they've finally had enough and make the heartbreaking decision to walk away. And a narcissist will then accuse that person of not caring about them, but they forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive. You say the slightest wrong thing to a narcissist and they will hold it against you forevermore. You talk to somebody they don't want you speaking to, they will hold it against you forevermore. A narcissistic person can like animals because the animal is feeding them attention. They can like dogs because dogs are giving them the undivided attention. They can be very cruel to dogs when nobody's looking if the dog's not giving them the attention. However, some might openly admit that they do not like animals. There's people that do, there's people that don't. The people, genuine people with empathy, might not particularly like them, but they wouldn't want to see any harm done to them. A narcissistic person who doesn't like dogs might say, don't speak to people who own dogs. They're not our kind of people. And then when you speak to somebody, because they're just a person, what's the dog? It's irrelevant. So you speak to them and then the narcissist finds out and gets offended, doesn't forgive you. Because in their mind, you're not doing as they say. And apologise. Again, they believe they're right. They are arrogant enough not to see the mistakes they make. They don't want to reflect. They don't want to take responsibility. They lack the empathy to feel remorseful, therefore they don't want to repair any damage. They're not going to apologise unless they need to avoid consequences for their actions, to look good, to reel you back in which case you get a false apology. I'm sorry, where they shift the blame. I'm sorry if, shifting the blame. I'm sorry, but, shifting the blame, or excusing their behaviour in some way. So a narcissistic person expects you to forgive them when they lie and cheat and deceive you, yet they will never forgive you for buying the wrong kind of milk. They will forever bring that up, bring it up in front of other people to mock you. You'd think they'd know me by now, wouldn't you? Yet at that time they brought me the wrong milk. And some people can sit there thinking, and some people are that charmed by them, they laugh along and humiliate you. Yeah, when they have done something to you, for example, cheated on you, they expect you to forgive them and they blame you. I'm sorry, if you'd have paid me more attention. And when they say things like this, we do need to listen closely because they genuinely mean that. That's why it sounds so convincing. They genuinely mean if you'd have paid them more attention. However, no matter how much attention you give them, if they've got the inclination to go elsewhere, no matter how much attention you give them, they're still going to go elsewhere. It'll then be the other person that was obsessed with them, wouldn't leave them alone. even though they turned up that charm and created that bond and sold that stranger an illusion of who they could be to get that stranger interested in them. And then it'll be the other person that can't leave them alone, because to a narcissist, nothing's ever their fault. It's always somebody else's, to keep their insecurities hidden and their ego boosted. If anyone has any thoughts on this video, please do add those into the comments for people reading through. Thank you very much to all the returning subscribers and your continued support with the channel. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, I'm for sure this channel is all about narcissistic behaviour, to give you more understanding of the people you might be dealing with within your life, how to handle yourself around those people if you cannot go no contact, and different methods to find what works for you to help you understand and overcome narcissistic and emotional abuse. If you do find the information helpful on the channel, please do subscribe. If you are looking for further help and support in understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, I do have several online guides available, and those teachable links are in the video description. If you're looking for someone to speak to, I have partnered with BetterHelp, and their sponsored link is also in the video description. I do also have a couple of books out on Amazon, a Narcissists Handbook, which is the ultimate guide to understanding and overcoming narcissistic and emotional abuse, and 15 rules to deal with narcissistic people, which I shall add into the description if you'd like to check those out. Go out there and create the day that you deserve, because you do deserve to have an amazing day. Bye.